Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: How young voters are shaking up the election. Millions of Germans are casting their votes in the country's federal elections, with Chancellor Angela Merkel tipped to retain power. She is seeking a fourth term in office and to keep her conservative CDU-CSU alliance's status as the largest presence in Germany's parliament. Its coalition partner, the Social Democratic SPD, is its main rival, while the right-wing AfD is likely to gain its first parliamentary seats. Voter turnout looks set to be moderate. Latest update: SB 1400 local time 1200 GMT. 41.1% of registered voters had cast their ballot, compared to 41.4% by the same time in the federal elections 4 years ago, according to Germany's federal returning officer. Mrs. Merkel cast her vote at a polling station in Berlin. The SPD's candidate for chancellor, Martin Schulz, voted earlier in the day in his hometown Würselen in western Germany. Polling stations opened at 0800 and close at 1800, with exit polls expected shortly after. Image caption: Angela Merkel has been Germany's chancellor since 2005. Image caption: SPD leader Martin Schulz is a veteran of the European Parliament. The election is seen as important because it may result in 6 parties in the Bundestag, the German national parliament, for the first time since World War II. Such a result could mean a change in the makeup of the current governing coalition. Uncertainty about what a new coalition government could look like was expected to draw high numbers of voters to the ballot boxes, with postal voting higher than usual. Key contenders. Image copyright Getty Images. Image caption: Martin Schulz and Angela Merkel are the main contenders. Angela Merkel widely expected to retain her seat. Mrs. Merkel is seen internationally as a source of stability, having led Germany since 2005. Her decision to open Germany to asylum seekers during the peak of Europe's migrant crisis cost her politically, but she appears to have recovered. Martin Schulz, the SPD leader, was until recently Speaker of the European Parliament. Mrs. Merkel's main rival is also her coalition partner, which has proved troublesome during the campaign, as he sought to criticize her politics. Alice Weidel and Alexander Gauland, the top candidates for the AfD, achieving seats in the Bundestag or potentially becoming the third largest party, as some campaign polls suggested would be a major victory. What are the coalition options? The SPD's Mr. Schulz has already appeared to reject the idea of another dual grand coalition, so what are the realistic alternatives for Mrs. Merkel? A Jamaica coalition is seen as increasingly likely, so-called because of the colors of Jamaica's flag, with the black CDU-CSU, the yellow, Business-friendly FDP, and the Greens. Not a marriage made in heaven, as the Greens want to phase out 20 coal-fired power plants, and the FDP disagree. But there is a prototype coalition that has just begun in the northern state of Schleswig-Holstein, a black-yellow coalition of the CDU-CSU and FDP. Preferable for Mrs. Merkel, but the numbers in the Bundestag may not add up. A black-yellow coalition governed Germany from 2009 before the FDP's utter wipeout in the 2013 election. Another black-red alliance of CDU-CSU and SPD, which governed Germany from 20,052,009 and then again from 201,317. A realistic option in terms of numbers, but many in the SPD would be opposed. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption: Which coalition is most likely to win? Recent polls suggest the CDU-CSU has a double-digit lead over the SPD, but there are millions of undecided voters, perhaps a third of the electorate. With the SPD still around 14 points behind Mrs. Merkel's party in the polls, Mr. Schulz is unlikely to attract all of them. It was a tough decision, voter Mike Mueller told Reuters news agency, in the SPD leader's hometown. One hopes Schulz will win, but in any case it will be a tight race. In Berlin, retired nurse Eva Maria told AFP news agency, "I hope Angela Merkel gets to stay on. She has everything under control." Image caption: A voter in traditional Bavarian clothing casts his ballot in Schleswig, Germany. The AfD, a nationalist, anti-Islam party, has so far held seats only in regional government, but has grown in popularity during a campaign focused on immigration issues. Mainstream parties have already ruled out talking to the AfD, which has been polling at between 11% and 13% and could emerge as Germany's third strongest party. Another significant contender is Die Linke, the left, the main opposition party to the outgoing coalition, but its radical views make it an unlikely partner in any coalition that results from this election. Media playback is unsupported on your device. Media caption post-war politics in 2 minutes. Some 61.5 million people aged over 18 are eligible to vote in federal elections, which are held every 4 years. There are 2 separate votes, one for a candidate in their constituency and one for their preferred political party.